Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. We're so excited that you've decided to hit play, download, subscribe, whatever you did to get here on your technology device, whichever it may be. Thank you for doing that. I am joined, as always, not from the door behind me. No. From his home in a different room than we've seen before. Travis Ross. Travis, how are you feeling? You worked from home today, Friday. I heard you coughing up all of your lungs in the other room, and I was like, "Hey man, you good?" And you're like, I'm just gonna go home. So how was your weekend? How's your Monday? How you feeling? What's the update?
I feel better, I guess. I still have a little bit of a cough, and but yeah, it was a pretty crummy weekend. I just kind of laid on that couch right there. See, I got my guitars right there.
I see it. Yep.
And then the TV's over there. I don't know which direction, but it's all right there is where I was at all weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, my wife's out of town, so I still had to kind of help the kids get to different things and all of that. But overall, I'm still alive. I think I feel good enough that I'm gonna come back into the office tomorrow, and but yeah, I still got that cough, man. Every once in a while I have to just mute the microphone and just let it go. And then the other thing is, because I'm at my house, I have my two dogs are like running all over the place and barking at the neighbors, and my kids are upstairs and they're coming down and going back upstairs. It's life, man.
It's real life. It's what happens.
Okay.
Yeah,
hey, you know what I was thinking about tonight is, of course, we're recording this on Monday. It's the national championship game.
It is.
And
when North Carolina is going to beat Kansas.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We actually have both sides covered because you are an idiotic Carolina supporter and I am with the holy KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawk Nation. So, whichever way we go,
rock, paper, scissors to you too. Okay. All I care about is the fact. Little insight for those listening. At Make Your Mark Design, we have a tournament where we
showed them on the tour a couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago on the tour, we showed you guys these brackets that we fill out at the start of it. And keep in mind, I know nothing. Not next to nothing. I'm next to nothing about college basketball. So I just filled out what I thought was just accurate.
Just take your moment in the sun and tell them that you're going to win. Okay.
And turns out, regardless of what happens tonight, I still win the tournament with everyone here at Make Your Mark. So I'm Amy, who works right there. She told me that this one's like, doesn't matter if Kansas wins or not. They're both screwed. You have too many points. So I was very happy to hear that. I don't know what the grand prize is going to be. And I'm sure Travis might be a little salty about it, so it might not be great. But
it isn't.
It
sucks.
I at least won something that I have no idea what I was doing, but it was fun. So I really don't care who wins tonight.
You get an extra 10-minute break one time.
Yeah, you get to work Saturday. Everyone gets to come. You get to come in on Saturday. So yeah, and I was a Carolina fan when I was younger because my sister's fiance was a Carolina fan. I used to be a Raiders fan too, but I grew way out of that. Like in middle school was because he was a Raiders fan and I loved this guy. Like he was like my older brother, so he was trying to steer me in the way. But North Carolina still has a soft spot. Raiders not so much. So we can just forego any Raiders fandom. So. Man, we don't have a point of interest today, and because we have a really fun interview with Michael Restrepo, who actually found us because of the podcast. He's a listener to the show, and he reached out to us because he had a couple questions about a project that he's doing and some products that he fulfills on his site. So we got to talking, and then I was like, we should invite this guy on the show. So we just recorded that. At 6 after having done the interview. What are you looking forward to the listeners hearing from Michael's story?
I don't want to give away too much, but well, you probably read it'll be in the title. So I just like the idea of yet another way that print on demand can be successful with print on demand. Specifically with licensing. And he's made that abundantly clear by his success. I mean, he's done really well. He continues to do really well, and he's got a lot of plans to continue to do really well. And so I just like offering our listeners new ideas and new things that they can potentially, try out on their own and hopefully succeed with. So really excited about everybody hearing his story.
Yes, likewise. And everyone knows on this show, I've talked about licensing quite a bit. And that is a large part of what he does. So I'm very excited to hear more about this. So without any further ado, we're going to throw it to this week's main event, our interview with Michael Restrepo.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, I'm super excited for this week's main event. We are having another guest on the show, and it's another person who was actually a listener to the POD cast, reached out to us because of the POD cast, and we've been working with him on some projects, and I thought, this is really cool what he's doing, so let's bring him on the show. So today we have Michael Restrepo on the show with us. A little bit about Mike before we get going for those that may not know him. He started a fraternity apparel business while he was an undergrad at Monmouth. He'll tell me how to pronounce that the right way when he gets on here. University, while another member of his fraternity from another campus. The company was started as a means to address the lack of high-quality recruitment T-shirts for fraternity chapters. Mike and his partner closed up shop once they graduated to begin their careers. Mike still saw the potential in this business and was approached by another fraternity alumni to restart the company once again under the name Greek State of Mind. They introduced embroidered Greek letters along with screen printed apparel to their offering in 2017. Mike discovered the world of print on demand, where it allowed the business to really take off. By necessity, he taught himself how to use Adobe Illustrator, Canva, and also began outsourcing a lot of his work to other design services, which allowed him to fulfill merch requests from fraternities and sororities across the country. So excited to learn more as we welcome to the show Michael Restrepo. Michael, thank you so much for accepting the invitation and coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. Long-time listener, so it's crazy to be, a guest on the show right now.
Well, it's good to have you, man. We're glad to have you come aboard and share your story with us. But before we get there, as you know, there is a segment that we have to get to each and every week, and it is everybody's favorite segment. My gosh, I'll try this again. I can't talk today. It is time for this week's weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
Okay, so again, dear listeners, you're getting two dad jokes this week because Michael has come ready and prepared with his own dad joke. So we will give ours, and then we will let Michael top off this segment. So A little bit fun fact for you. I don't know about you guys, but I love pie. Apple pie is delicious, right? It's Americana. It's everyone's favorite. I was doing some research today, and a slice of apple pie costs $2.50 in Jamaica and $3 in the Bahamas. These are the pie rates of the Caribbean. All right, that is our dad joke. Michael, what do you got?
All right. So, which days are the strongest?
Which days are the strongest?
I don't know. Which days are the strongest?
Never thought of that.
Strong day? I don't know. There's no strong day.
Yeah. No, it's actually Saturday and Sunday. The rest are weekdays.
And there we have the second dad joke. That was good.
Yeah. Mike bringing his A game.
I know. I didn't know how that was going to work out. I was like, Friday. That doesn't have anything to do with strength. There's no like leg day technically on the calendar. So, I mean, yoke day. It wasn't going to work. No, Michael, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Just to kind of dive into it right away, tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got involved. I mean, you read some of it in the intro, but kind of give us a more in-depth look of how you found print on demand.
Yeah, so the intro that you gave kind of gave the background there. So I'll fast forward to when I found print on demand. So before I do, what we used to do was we used to screen print a lot of the products that we used to sell. And the issue with that was that we'd have to buy in bulk and then, sit on it and sell it. The problem with that was that there were certain designs that would go out of style. So we invested a lot of money and then we just got stuck. I still have some of that merch here, and that was maybe like 8 to 10 years ago. Did
you actually screen print it yourself, or did you have other people screen print it for you?
I had other people screen print it for me. I don't have any like actual printing skills or anything like that. I would just outsource all of that. My focus and my interest was more on design and sales. So when I discovered print on demand, it was through Printful. And I, looked into it and I go, oh my God, this is the answer. I'll be able to put out designs, test them out. I'll be making a little bit less money per sale, but that's okay because now I can put out more products and test out things. And the model was, I would test out a product or a design. If it started selling, then I would go and have it screen printed because it was just a lot cheaper to buy in bulk. Then the next issue happened where I was hiring designers. And at that time, design services weren't like Vexels, Fiverr still wasn't out and things like that. So I would find designers either within the States and they would charge anywhere between like $300 to $600 per design, or I'd find designers out like overseas and they would cost anywhere between $150 to $300. Still a lot per design. It's a gamble, You don't know if it's going to sell or it's going to do, if it's going to do well at all. So out of necessity, I taught myself how to do Adobe Illustrator. By no means am I like an expert or anything like that. I just know enough to do what I need to do. I know how to like manipulate designs, things like that. So, I just went on YouTube and just learned as much as I could. Tons of tutorials and everything like that. So once I started getting the hang of it, started getting more licenses for different fraternities and sororities, and started kind of expanding from there. And then the business really started taking off because at the time we were only licensed for one fraternity, but now we are licensed for 21 fraternities and sororities.
Okay. Cool.
Wow.
So was the when you learned Illustrator, was that when you were back in college and the first kind of iteration of this, or is this a little later when you were kind of relaunching the whole idea?
This was a few years after relaunching. Back in college, my partner was a graphic designer. I focused more on building the website, doing the sales. I would go to different campuses and sell the merch. I was just doing most of the sales, and I let him do all the graphic design. But when we graduated, he went off to work at a company called Thrillist. It was in the city. So, he didn't have the time. I had to go get start my career. I started working at Granger Industrial, large company. I'm still working there right now full time. So I've been there for like 10 years and I love it. But, through that job, I got to learn, how a big company operates. So and I took a lot of skills and lessons from there and I applied it to my small business. So yeah, I started teaching myself Illustrator through YouTube maybe 5 years after the relaunch of the company. And that was just because of print on demand, because I realized, okay, I need to put out more content and I can't be paying designers that much money. So I need to figure out a way to be able to do this as cheap as possible.
Right.
That makes sense. So, so you say so it's Greek State of Mind, and right. I'm assuming that's a .com. You can go there and buy all of your different licensed sorority and fraternity apparel. Do you sell anything aside from apparel on those sites? And then B, is there any other place you do sell on besides just your own website?
So I would say 99% of the products on the website is Greek related. There are accessories that are like that are not specifically like licensed for the group, but it has to do with them. So for example, I sell these owl bracelets, right? One of the fraternities, the mascot's an owl, but it's just the generic owl bracelet.
Right.
And I source that from China. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super cheap.
Wow, cool.
And what was the second question?
I was asking, what other places do you sell aside from your own website?
Okay, so besides Shopify, we also sell on Amazon, and we also sell on Etsy. Amazon, we probably have the least amount of products. Amazon's a tough one to sell on in general. It's very complicated, so I'm still learning. Yeah. But I mean, it's the biggest marketplace and it's pretty consistent with sales. We sell a lot of fraternity flags on there right now, which I get from overseas as well. We're looking to move into sorority flags, and eventually we want to start pushing more apparel through there as well. We also sell on Etsy. Etsy's been great. I think we've been on for about a year now. And that's pretty consistent. And we have a couple different stores. One is specifically for sorority apparel. I'm going to do another one for Greek State of Mind, so just fraternity apparel. And the reason for that is I'm just trying to take up a lot more online real estate for that brand. And Etsy does a really good job of getting on the first page of Google on their own without me having to pay ads, or they charge ads on their own. So that's the reason for that. And then I do have another store, completely different from outside of Greek life. It's for mixed martial arts, MMA. So there's a number of designs on there. And right now our focus is on providing apparel for up and coming fighters, so amateur fighters, in hopes that maybe they get there one day and, our stuff is out there and, it'll work out. We'll have those relationships long term.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's very smart. You mentioned you talked a lot about licensing. You're licensed with certain sorority and fraternity groups, and even with up and coming fighters, I'm sure there's if they do get big, there's licensing things and that you have to go through. So we've talked about licensing a little bit on this show, and so I'm curious to hear your story about how did you attain these licenses to do merchandise and apparel for these groups? And what are some of the pros and cons of working with a licensed group?
Yeah, sure. So when I first started the company, I just did Google search, like whatever organization I was looking for, and licensing or trademarks, and it brought me to the group or the licensing group that gives them out. So we went and applied. You have to, obviously, they're providing you a license for a specific group, so you have to follow their rules and regulations to respect their image. So like in the beginning, in the beginning, like being a fraternity, I was like, oh, cool. I'll just do all these like beer designs and just do like some alterations and make it like into something where, where it has the fraternity name on it. And that's a big no-no. You can't do that. Anything alcohol, drug related, brand related, it's a no-go. So you kind of have to get a little more original. But when it comes to licenses, the process for those are you apply. You have to pay a registration, registration fee or application fee. That's what I mean. Then they ask you to send in a couple samples so that they can see, the quality of the items. Then the licensing group will approve you or deny you. And then there's different categories that you have to apply for. So if you want to do like, let's say mugs, that's a separate application, and then you have to resubmit it, and then they have to go through the process all over again.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's pretty in depth. And then when, let's say you want to sell a certain product or certain design of that group on a specific product, you have to submit a mock-up of it to the licensing group, and you have to wait till they approve it before you can do anything, before you can advertise or sell it. So like in the beginning, when I'm submitting, these beer related or just inappropriate variations of designs, I got a lot of rejections. And quickly learned like, okay, I have to do this the correct way.
Right.
So, and on top of that too, for every sale you have to record. They give you like a spreadsheet. You have to record the name, ID number, the product name, how many units you sold, the shipping, tax.
Wow.
It's pretty in depth. It's not the easiest thing. So you have to do that for every single product, every single sale, and then you have to submit a quarterly report, and then you have to pay royalties on it. The majority of the groups, you have to pay 9.5%, which is bigger fee than, let's say, like Etsy. I think Etsy's like 9%.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like I'm selling on Etsy, I'm paying a 9% Etsy fee. I'm paying a 9.5% royalty fee. Then the cost of the product itself and everything like that. So as you can see, it starts happening quickly. Yeah,
the pie gets cut in a lot of pieces before you get to take a bite of it.
100%.
That seems like, I mean, when you're selling on Amazon and Amazon's, taking 15%, even if you're self-fulfilling, if you're FBA, there's going to be, pick and pack fees and all of that. And then you got to pay 9.5%. And, you've got to find, you've got to find some products that you've got decent margin enough to be able to make all that work. So apparel has worked for you though, huh?
Apparel's worked.
A good place.
Yeah. It has worked. But again, like you said, there a lot of the profits get eaten up with all the fees, different platforms, things like that. So the whole name of the game is just volume. And like, it's not even just on the retail side. We also focus on group orders. So when let's say a chapter comes in and they're doing recruitment, or they have like a philanthropy event or a formal, anything on campus that they need, that they all get shirts collectively. At that point, I'll go to a screen printer, my local screen printer that I've been using for 10 years. And it's just a lot cheaper to do it that way. And then you get to keep a lot more of the profits. So I really push for group orders because they get a discount on top of it per shirt.
Sure.
And then and then the lead time is a lot quicker. But then for like all online, for like Shopify, Etsy and all that, most of it is print on demand. Because that just allows me to not have to pack and ship every single order that comes in, because then I just wouldn't have the time for that, especially because I have a regular job during the day.
So if a fraternity or a sorority is doing, one of these events or whatever, and you're doing a bulk job, do you still have to pay the licensing fee, even though you're selling it to the people who own the brand, so to speak?
Yeah. The end user is always going to be a fraternity member, but it's the nationals, the national group, the national fraternity. They need a piece of their pie, and that's how they make their money as well.
That makes sense.
Fund like various events that they throw throughout the year, because sometimes they'll do like a national convention. They'll have all these kids come from all over the country for like workshops, teaching them like leadership, how to do their role if they're like in a leadership role, like their finances, recruitment, things like that. So those type of events we also go and attend. So we do a lot of live events as well. I was actually yesterday for a sorority. It was about an hour away. We got invited to that. It was about 450 members, and I brought a team of 5 other people, so 6 of us total. We had 7 tables worth of merchandise.
Wow,
nice!
Wow. It was like a 6-hour event, and these girls literally mobbed the table. I was like in awe of how much they purchased in such a little amount of time.
Wow, that's incredible. So we've kind of touched on it, but some of the pros of working with license groups obviously is that's kind of the audience, especially in this particular scenario. You're always going to have people that are joining these fraternities and sororities and need shirts, and there's always going to be events. So I mean, talk a little bit more about some of the pros of attaining the license and what that's been able to allow you to do.
So for the pros, you're creating kind of like a barrier between everyone else. So it stops other people from coming in because it is costly. There's a lot of work in terms of like making sure that you're in good standing with the licensing company, submitting everything on time, paying your dues, your royalties to them regularly, not infringing on or violating any rules on design or anything like that. So it does keep people out. And you're right. So every 4 or 5 years, you have a new batch of people. Well, not actually, no, it's every semester you get a new batch of potential new customers. So it's a constant revolving door of new customers. You don't have to worry about keeping them long term, even though there's alumni who still purchase things here and there, but it's mostly going to be undergrads. They go through the recruitment process. They're super excited because they earned it. They want to rep their letters, their merch. And then in the holidays too, the parents are constantly buying them, tons of stuff. So, it works in multiple demographics.
Yeah.
And then do you want me to go over the cons? Because there are cons, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of mentioned some before, but like a lot, like I said, a lot of administration work. It's just a lot of
red tape,
a lot of reports, which for me, it's like my biggest pain point. I'm working on that report maybe 2 hours every single day, just updating everything.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a lot. I'm pulling reports from Etsy. I'm pulling reports from Amazon. I'm pulling reports from Shopify, making sure everything is in an orderly fashion. So it does get tough. And then on top of that too, there are some groups, because we've expanded. We expanded to 16 new organizations, I think, just in the last year. So it was we went from like 4 to, did I say 21? Yeah, we went from 4 to 21.
Okay.
Drastically. So then that means I have to create all these new designs and everything, and put it out there. So there are some groups that I barely have any sales for, but there's also like a minimum royalty that you have to pay per year. If you don't like, let's say, generate enough royalties to pay them, you still have to pay no matter what. And then there's like a renewal fee on top of that. So I think it's $250.
Will you drop licensees? Will you drop some of those licensees if they don't perform for you?
Yeah, so we actually have before. So just to backtrack, before Print on Demand, we did expand to 8 or 9 groups. I think it was back in like 2014, 2015. We got 8 licenses, and we did every fraternity and sorority that was on Monmouth, which is Monmouth, not Monmouth. Monmouth. Yeah. Monmouth University's campus. We figure, okay, this is our backyard. This is our campus right here. We'll expand to these groups, and we'll sell merch to these groups, right? So we went on campus, we brought up like about 2 or 3 different designs and some embroidered letters. And we set up a table, and it was a complete bust. We just didn't have enough variety for each group. So we were stuck with those licenses for a year. And then after that, we cut it back down to just 2 because we were just losing money at that point. It made no sense. But then once we had the infrastructure for the business and print on demand in order to put out more designs, then that's when we felt confident again to get more licenses.
Yeah, to tag on to that, you mentioned infrastructure. Now you do have some like kind of standard operating procedures, SOPs, that we've talked about those. You kind of understand the reporting, you understand the business model a little better. Are there any other licenses that you're currently holding, maybe in a different arena, maybe not just sororities and fraternities, or are there any others that you're planning on going after, or are you kind of hitting your sweet spot at 21 right now?
So we did have a license for Monmouth University itself. And there's I think it's called IMG. Let me just double check. IMGlicensing.com is where you can go and you can get licenses for universities themselves. So, Harvard, Michigan State, any like big schools. That's where you would get licenses for those. Monmouth was standalone. It wasn't through that company, but it was, I know that the application fee is a lot more. So that's why we haven't dabbled in there too much, just because we know this space and what we do in one group, we can replicate it for the others. And there's probably over 100 groups that I can get licensed for fraternities and sororities. So we're going to continue doing that, and we're going to keep expanding. Once we feel like we have enough market share for one group, that we'll continue on to the next. But I mean, for just university licenses themselves, it's big money. You can make a decent amount. Just not even just the school itself, but the sports teams too. Right.
Yeah. There's a lot going on at those colleges, and they've got a lot of money because they've got a lot of students. And with a lot of students means a lot of potential customers for you guys.
Exactly. Yep. And that's why, like, if for those of you that are like on Merch by Amazon, and you try to do like a college shirt, you'll get a rejection right away because it's trademarked. Yeah. So you would have to go through the licensing group, and you would have to acquire it and then submit that to the Merch by Amazon team in order for them to allow you to do that. So that's what I did for the Greek apparel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do have stuff on Merch by Amazon right now then, and use it to fulfill orders for your business?
So I did. No longer Merch by Amazon, as is a pretty common story you'll hear from other people who are on the platform. They got their account shut down, and then you go to appeal it or try to figure out what happened, and they won't tell you. So that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing. Honestly, I feel like because these were trademark groups, there was a number of times where I got rejections, even though they said I was approved to sell the merch and that my account was configured in order to allow it to go through. I still got tons of rejections. I remember I submitted, I think it was over 100 designs. I literally got over 100 rejections, and I literally, my heart sank, and I was like, oh my God, I panicked, and I'm gonna get shut down. Didn't get shut down because I reached out to support right away. I told them, I told you that, I double checked with you to make sure that everything was good on your end, and clearly it isn't. So, that happened. But then when it actually got deactivated, it was just random. It was just out of nowhere. I woke up to the rejection notice or the account deactivation notice, and I was just like, all right. But at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to focus on Shopify, Etsy, because I'm doing well there. So,
it sounds a lot like the other typical story you hear about Amazon, is that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
Right.
And so The left hand told you you're good to go, and then the right hand slapped you for doing what the left hand said to do.
Yeah, exactly. but just to backtrack here, when I did have the account up and running, I used to use Merch by Amazon to fulfill orders for, let's say I got an order on Shopify. In order to boost the listing on my Merch by Amazon listing, I would order it through there, just put it at literally cost.
Sure.
I would end up getting, the profit from the Shopify purchase. And then I also charge shipping on there, but on Merch by Amazon, it's free shipping. So I'd make a little bit extra on top of that too. So I'd boost, that would help the listing for Amazon. And then I would do the same exact thing for Etsy. So it would just help out, for both, to boost the algorithm.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So how many vendors then are you currently using now? If you're not using Merch by Amazon, I know you mentioned a local screen printer, you're doing some print on demand. So how many vendors do you currently have that are helping you produce?
So for all our products, let's see. Sorry.
It's a lot when you have to count.
8 vendors.
Okay.
9 with you guys. So 9 vendors. Yes.
All right. Nice.
I have a screen printer. I have a couple of different embroiderers that specialize in certain things. Certain ones are smaller businesses, so they might not have the time, or the lead time might be longer. So then I'll use somebody else. Some of them have the pros and cons. So it's really about like project management. Just figuring out what's the best, depending on what type of order I'm working on, who's the best fit to fulfill this one.
Sure.
That's what it comes down to. I have a couple Chinese vendors that I source products from. And then as far as print on demand, I was using Printful. I use them just now for embroidery. But I mostly use Printify.
Okay. Awesome.
I guess one question that I have that's not really on our script, but I think is apropos. Like we have a lot of listeners and that are trying to make it in print on demand, and you've really kind of gone in a specific way. I'm just wondering, what would you say to that person that's starting out that, is kind of getting burned out trying to find the niche of the month to make another t-shirt and upload it to Amazon or throw it on Etsy or whatever. Do you think what you've done here maybe not in the fraternities and the sororities or whatever, do you think what you've done with licensing is reproducible in a way that maybe somebody that does have a second job or a first job, and this is their side hustle, could they reproduce what you've done, or did you just kind of get lightning in a bottle?
You mean through licensing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, because honestly, anyone can go and apply for a license. As long as you get approved through their application process, you have a built-in market already. And you're also kind of like protected from everyone else that's trying the same exact thing. Now I know that there's like licensing, like expos and things like that. I haven't gone to it, but I've signed up for emails. I think one was in August. Is that correct? There's a licensing expo.
Yeah. I know there's one in Las Vegas. Once a year.
Yeah, they do it like every year.
Right. Exactly. I vaguely was looking into it because I go, okay. But I mean, it's just you're just kind of like, it's like building a moat around your business. You don't have everyone trying to get in there and trying to, take a piece of the pie. You have to pay a bit to get in, but at the same time, I think it's worth it. I think it outweighs, the cost of it.
Yeah. It's actually, I just found it's the Las Vegas Licensing Expo. It's actually in May. So next month, the 24th through the 26th in Las Vegas. You can register for free. You can hang out in Vegas, and what stays in or what happens in Vegas. But yeah, I've had friends that have gone there and have had success with that. I know Ken Reel, who we've had on the program before, has done some licensing with some groups, and he I believe he's building a brand that he is then licensing out and trying to do that at some point. So he's going to be sitting on the other side of the table. But I mean, if nothing else, to kind of have another, arrow in your quiver of a way that you can kind of strike while the iron's hot in a place that not a lot of people are. I mean, licensing is huge. I mean, I'm not saying there's not a lot of people in licensing. I'm saying I don't know that there's a lot of people doing print on demand, in our circles that are really dealing with licensing. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, Mike, just to kind of, encourage others that, hey, here's yet another way that print on demand can feed your family, or at least, do a car payment for you or something like that. There's just a lot of mechanisms that print on demand can really help you attain your goals. It's really cool.
No, 100%. No, and you're completely right. I listen to tons of podcasts and watch tons of YouTube videos about the industry because I'm constantly trying to learn as much as I can, figure out what the newest website is, newest print on demand provider is. And I mean, I never hear about licensing. I hear about what not to do, about trademarks and stuff, but I never hear about how to acquire licensing. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've mentioned on the show a handful of times that licensing has always been fascinating. The idea of doing a license for that, or for a brand, or for, like you said, a college. So I'm definitely going to look into the website that you mentioned. Because I understood the potential there that we've talked about of you have a demographic that's built in. So you mentioned that you listen to a lot of podcasts. We mentioned that you were an avid listener to the show.
We're your favorite podcast, I think, is what you told us before we came
right at the top of the subscription list. So just a question that we asked Fiona, who is another listener to the show, just because Travis and I, really do enjoy engaging with people that listen to the show and are always open to feedback and just hear what's working. What's one or two things that you've been able to take away from this particular show that is kind of proved beneficial to you, besides the incredibly sharp humor and wit that is constantly just pouring forth from every episode?
Well, what piqued my interest about your podcast was that, you guys own and operate your own print shop. So for me, I felt like I should learn that aspect or that side of the business, even though I'm not physically doing it. I should understand how it works and how it operates so that I can understand better how to work with my vendors.
Sure.
So one was that. And then two was just also when you guys talk about different, when you guys in the beginning, like different print providers, you would talk about Q4 and how operation would work like that. Because my first Q4 where it was huge was this past one, because we finally had our all 21 licenses, had all my products up on Printify. So it was really my first time dealing with that type of, influx of orders. So I did not know what to expect. I was really nervous. So, some of your tips, like telling your customers you need to have your orders in by a certain date in order for it to come in on time. That I didn't know. And I took that, and I'm glad I did listen to you guys when you guys said that, because there were some orders that were like borderline, gonna make it. And then some I'm like, past the deadline, you're done. You're not going to make it.
Yeah. Awesome.
You're at the mercy of the post office.
And that's not a good thing. It's not something to have confidence either.
No, it's not great. I mean, even, to peek behind the curtain, a project that we just helped you with, some of the shirts that were on their way to us, for us to print to get to you, were lost by UPS. And so it's just kind of like another example of you're not always in control of all of the moving parts in the business. So just try and have a good grasp on the ones that you do have influence on and how it all, pans out. Last question before we get to the magic questions here. You mentioned that you have a full-time job in addition to doing something that sounds like it quickly could become a full-time job. So my question to you is how is that going? How's the work-home balance? How do you kind of keep the plates spinning or
how were you
Yeah.
able to clone yourself? I think what
Yeah,
he's trying to
exactly.
ask.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how you got the license on cloning. But talk a little bit about that, because there are a lot of people that are listening, like Travis said, have full-time jobs. They're doing this as a side hustle, much like you are. So what's some insights and tips that you have in navigating this kind of a dynamic where you have kind of a job that's happening seemingly all the time?
Yeah. So I work in sales. I work in the field, so I get to make my own schedule, which is the difference of in someone having to report to an office, and that's the difference. I make my own schedule, so I am able to create processes that I can literally do everything right from my phone, or I can bring my laptop because I can create a hotspot and do something right there, like in my car. So as I'm going in to visit a customer for my regular job, it's a 20-minute meeting, or it could be a 2-hour meeting. I come out, I check my phone, I see that I have a bunch of orders that came in through Printify. I go in, I process it. I text some groups that I've been marketing to, set up some group orders. So I'm constantly, going back and forth between the two. In terms of work-life balance as well, my fiance is going to school right now, so she takes night classes. She's been going to school for 2 years now.
Nice.
So because of that, because she's not home, I take full advantage. It's not me laying on the couch watching TV. It's me sitting at my computer and my laptop, just creating designs, putting them up. I use a lot of automation tools that I found through other print-on-demand YouTube channels. So I use a lot of automation as well so I can set that up and I can move on to my other work. So it's a lot of back and forth. Just a balancing act, but just utilizing technology as much as I can to give me time back.
Yeah. If you don't mind, what are some of those tools that you're using to automate, to kind of make things easier? I'm sure that, there might be some benefit to, looking into those particular technologies that you're using for those listening, and even for Travis and myself.
Yeah. So I use Flying Upload. I waited till I think it was a 4th of July sale. They were doing 30% off. Usually around the holidays or some sort of holiday, they'll run a sale.
Sure.
And they do a lot of the major print-on-demand websites. They'll do Printify, Printful. They'll do Etsy. I think Cafe Press, Teespring.
Okay.
A lot of ones that I've never even heard of before. I don't really dabble in the other ones. Redbubble as well. So yeah, it's a bunch, but it's amazing. It's saved a lot of time instead of having to do the manual process of uploading everything.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like a mass upload kind of thing. You upload one sheet and then you're good to go.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you write the information down, and then let's say I put up a design. I put I'll put in the description, a couple tags, and then I'll make templates of the products that I want it to be put on. So it's a t-shirt, a crew neck, a hoodie, and then I let it run and it'll literally start posting all of those.
Wow. That's awesome. Incredible. So yeah, that's something to look. You said Fly Upload? Is that what you call it?
Upload. And there's another one called Merch Titans. That one's a little more expensive.
Oh,
yeah. But Flying Upload and Merch Titans, they do both the same thing.
I've actually talked to Curtis from Merch Titans about potentially coming on the show sometime and talking about his tool. It's pretty awesome. He's got a new thing that allows you to hold all of your art in the cloud now, and that's kind of brand new. I think it's in beta. And anyway, we don't have to get into that, but that's cool. I'm glad those tools are making it more efficient for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I always encourage constantly go and learn, constantly go on YouTube and look up the latest things, because there's so many tools out there, like SEO tools and things like that, automation tools that could help a person who's just trying to make this into just a side hustle or bring in a little side income. These tools make all the difference.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to go right into the set of questions that we ask everybody, and they are called the magic questions.
Do you
still survived.
feel magical?
I do feel magical.
We still dodged some kind of copyright thing. I don't know how. I feel
No, we
like
have the Disney we have the Disney license.
I would have gotten a rejection right away.
Yeah, I know. I feel like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone when he's going through his brother's stuff and he just says, hey, I feel like saying, hey, Disney, I'm ripping off your stuff. You better come out and pound me. But hasn't happened yet. So I think we're in good shape. All right. So let's start with, we'll go with 3. The first one being, if you had to start all over, you woke up in the morning, you had none of your current contacts. You had, just clean slate, and you still wanted to get into this industry. What's your first move?
First move, I think I would go and open up an Etsy store. I find Etsy to be probably the better of the platforms, especially because of the traffic. Just a lot more eyes. Yeah, I'd start there.
Okay, nice. Travis?
All right.
2.
Let's see. Tell us about something that happened in your business that felt like a complete failure. You just really felt like you fell flat on your face. Give us a good story.
Oh, okay. Well, recently I got the opportunity to do a large group order for a sorority. And for many years, I actually try to stay away from sororities because they can be very picky at times.
Sure.
Especially a group of 112 girls.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I ended up printing like a set, sweatpants and hoodies. And I ordered it from SNS. They were forest green with just a white print on both. I ordered a Gildan hoodie and they didn't have the sweatpants in stock. So I ordered the new blend, forest green. We had it printed. It was like about a $3,000 to $4,000 job. We got it to them probably within a week. I was like really excited about it because I was just like, oh, this is a brand new account. They keep ordering from us. And then I get pictures from them complaining, saying that the greens, the greens don't match up.
Oh no!
And then later I realized, they were 2 different brands. I didn't think of that at the time. I just was picking out whatever was available because inventory levels have been all messed up since the pandemic.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh no, but I had to do right by the customer. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to eat this. And it was about $2,000 that I lost right there.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a big hit. My partner said to me too, he goes, I told you we shouldn't be doing these sororities. I told you this is what happens. And I'm like, oh, I know, but listen, we got to do right by them. So we got to reprint it. They haven't gotten it yet. It's getting delivered tomorrow. So fingers crossed. I hope they're happy and I hope they come back. But
yeah,
such an expensive mistake. It was little details you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. And hopefully, we've talked about this before, but I think there is something to be said about just owning mistakes and making it right. Instead of being like, what are you talking about? Those 4 screens are the same or you're crazy. You know what I mean? So just kind of biting the bullet. I think there is a lot to be said there, which is good that you did that. And not everybody does. So hopefully they see that you were able to kind of just be forthright about what happened.
Hopefully it works out. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Update. Yeah. All right. Last one. Throughout your career, how important, whether it's POD, whether it's the career you're in now, how important has mentoring been to you and the relationships and, like you said, the knowledge base? How important has that been to you in your journey getting this all started?
Extremely important. I wouldn't have restarted the company if that alumni didn't reach out to me.
Right.
He's a lot older, a lot wiser. Still my partner. Still teaching me new things.
Yeah.
What information and what skill sets I lack, he makes up for. He always says, like, I'm the visionary, and he's there to just kind of reel me in when I go off the rails. So I definitely need that. And besides him, though, just like, just going on YouTube and finding people who are in the same space, learning as much as you can. That's so important. That way you can avoid making costly mistakes. You can learn quicker and just, kind of get your business, accelerate your business faster than just trying to do it all on your own.
Yeah. Totally. That is awesome. Well, before we say goodbye and wrap up this interview, I want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can find you, whether it's on social media, your websites, if they want to know more, if they're interested, they have questions. How they can find you out there on this information highway that we all call the internet.
So social media wise, best place to find me is at Mike Restrepo, MikeRestrepo. My Facebook is facebook.com/Mike.Restrepo. You can reach out to me. We also do a lot of stuff outside of Greek life too. We do a lot of small businesses. We do sports related stuff. Anything that can be printed on apparel, we can do. We do a lot of design work ourselves. So, don't feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And if you want to just check out our website to see what we have, it's www.greekstateofmind.com.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, Mike, thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule to come on the show. And we're very thankful to have connected with you. This podcast is great for us because we get to connect with people like yourself. So we're glad that we've been able to connect, have you on the show, work together, do some projects, and looking forward to more in the future.
Appreciate the invite, guys. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.
All right. I want to thank Michael again for taking time to come on the show. It's really fun to, again, connect with listeners. And his story is awesome, man. I really think it's awesome what he's been able to do with utilizing print on demand and outsourcing everything, really, and still working a full-time job. So
yeah, it's crazy.
He is a champ, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with him and just seeing the success of Greek State of Mind, but also, the other things that he has in the works and the other ideas and projects that he puts his hands to. I think it's going to be really cool to see. Yeah,
for sure, man. Yeah, he's a good dude. And he works hard. I mean, he's built a really cool business, and like you, I'm excited to see where it goes. And, I also think that it kind of lights a little fire under both of us to, maybe look into some licenses and things like that. And, we'll see where that goes, or if it goes anywhere, it might just be another one of those like, oh, that's a good idea. And then go back to doing, shiny object. Exactly. Cause it might, obviously it's probably not for everyone. So
sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're successful in one thing, maybe it's wise not to, spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
But it's worked for Mike, and he's doing well, and maybe it's, going to light the fire under some of our listeners to go down that path. We'll see.
Yeah, man, it's going to be exciting to see. And so again, thank you to Mike, and we're going to have all the links to his social media, his website, all that kind of stuff that he mentioned there for you guys to connect with him as well. But if you have a question and want to connect with us, you can always go to facebook.com/groups/printondemandcast. Join the group. You do have to request to be a part of the group. Please answer the questions. There's some people that don't answer the questions. And I'm telling you now, if you don't answer the questions, we're not going to let you in. You got to answer the questions. We got to know that we're all on the same page. I'm really just trying to see how many times I can say the word questions in a span of time. So answer the questions. But no, join the Facebook group and the conversation. we'd be happy to have you. We're also on Instagram.com/printondemandcast. We're on YouTube. Last week there wasn't a YouTube version of the episode because of the madness that was that particular Tuesday. But there will be a YouTube this week. Our video is also on Spotify, but that's youtube.com/printondemandcast. And we'd love to have you guys subscribe there, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when new episodes drop. That's the best way to do that. Audio-wise, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that I will forever call iTunes just because that's my childhood, Stitcher, Google, all of the things, all of the podcast platforms. We are there for you. As I like to say, wherever there are podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. And as always, if you have time, please leave us a 5-star review and a comment on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, what you like with the content, if you have a dad joke, it doesn't matter. Just as long as it accompanies a 5-star review, it will be seen and probably, maybe, shouted out on the show. But again, Travis and I are always extremely grateful for you guys supporting us. And so, Travis, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Absolutely not. You covered it all.
All right. And I almost ran out of breath and passed out, but I didn't. My cardio exercise every week is that spiel. So, as always, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.